Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me again. And as you can see, you join me today in my kitchen. The reason being I'm giving up with the motorcycles and I'm going to start a cookery channel. No, I'm not. No, don't worry. No, the reason is, well, let me pose this question to you. How can you tell a man that lives on his own? There's quite a few answers to that. From a female perspective, it could be his dress sense, maybe. From a male's perspective, because he's smiling. I don't mean it, I'm only joking. But there is another way of telling a man that lives on his own, and it's this. It's a man that's got a motorcycle in his kitchen. Yes, I brought the CL in from the cold because it is absolutely freezing outside and it's cold for the next few days. So I thought, rather than doing a few jobs out in the garage and getting myself absolutely froze, why not bring the bike into the kitchen? So I've had to get it through these French doors here, which are only really small. So it's been a bit of a struggle because it's a bit tight out there, but I've managed to do it. I've got it inside, and so we're nice and warm inside here and we can work on it in comfort. As you know, I've already fitted a couple of the components of the travel pack. That's the first one, the adjustable brake lever, which is really good for my little hands, perfect. The other one, let's move around here, is the pannier rail, which you've probably seen already if you've watched my video on that one, which is marvellous. But we do have some more components, so I've got them over here. There's the heated grips, the power socket and the tank pad. So I thought, good chance to get a few of these fitted onto the bike. So without further ado, let's crack on. Well, the first thing I'm going to attempt to fit is this tank pad. Now I've just looked at the Honda instructions online. What they tell you to do is, the only measurement they've got is to fit it 10mm above the front of the seat, so 1 centimetre above the front of the seat. And I'm going to be using a lot of this with this job. It's frog tape, delicate surface frog tape, which I have knocking around the house. The advantage of this is it's so low tack, but it retains its tackiness, but it's very low tack, and you can put it on and off loads of times. It doesn't mark the tank. It's going to be really handy. Now I've used that in 2 places already. I've cheated, I've been showing you. But because it's 10mm above the seat height, I don't know if you can see it. I think you just about can. There's actually a piece of film here, protective film, that Honda put on to stop the tank scratching the seat, scratching the tank. So you can measure from that, because that's exactly where the top of the tank is. So I've measured 1 centimetre above that, and I've put a piece of frog tape down there, down to the centre line. And there is a centre line here, fortunately, where the bolt is. There's actually a line in that tank bracket. Isn't exactly critical where this is, as long as it is 10mm above there. That's what that's for. It doesn't matter exactly whether this is central or not. I've then done a similar thing with the tank pad. So 2 bits of frog tape again over the edge. These edges are the critical part, of course. I need a centre line. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see in there, but there's a Honda imprint there. Let's try and show you. So I've used a plastic ruler. This is going to be coming really handy as well, a very flexible plastic ruler. This is only one way of doing it, by the way. I mean, this is not the way to do it. I'm sure you'll find probably a much better way to do it than me, but this is what I did. So I measured across there, and you'll find across the top of the name Honda, you can get it square because of that. It's exactly 10 centimetres. Then use a set square and just went straight up like that in order to get my centre line. So I had the one, a similar thing down here. So now I have 2 lines right on the edge there, so I can line up. So all I need to do now is find the centre line of this tank, the critical part. I know the height. So the first thing I'm going to do is place this on exactly where it's going to be. Again, it's not critical that I get it completely square at this point. All I'm doing here is finding the height, how far this goes, and I'm going to put a piece of tape right across there, like that. Just double check that, I think that's right. So that tape, once that is pinned down, I'll just double check that. Yep, that tape is exactly where the pad's going to go, so I know the exact position of that away. So now all I need is to find this centre line, and this is where the flexible ruler comes in. There are some datums which I worked out earlier. The bolt here that fits the assembly here, and there is also in the lock colours a little arrow. Obviously needs to be the centre of this hinge part, and luckily this sticker actually is perfectly central too, because I've checked it earlier on. If you go down there and go to the centre of that sticker, you can see that all those line up exactly. So I'm going to do that now. Line that up spot on, just like that. And I now know that that point right there is my centre point. And just very gently mark that with a pen. The other thing with the tape, it shows up a blue pen quite well. And then the other one, we can get, luckily the ruler is just long enough, we can get the centre line of this bracket, which I'll just double check. Is that mark exactly in the metal there? There's actually a mark there. I can then go to that centre line we've already got, which is there. Again, double check, measure twice, cut once, and I can mark right there. And that should be our centre line. Now I'm just going to check, this isn't as accurate, and I've got a bootlace here. Now this isn't as accurate, I couldn't have done it with this, but I just to double check and just to make me feel confident in this. Just going to run that across. Where are we there? Yeah, you can see that's why this method would be useless, because it just wobbles around. But as I stretch this, get it taut, it does seem to be absolutely spot on. But we will also just try and get a measure across here just to double check. But I'm pretty confident there. We've got our centre line. If I can find the tank pad, which I've managed to lose again. Where is it? Unbelievable, I've lost it already. Where did I put the tank pad? Oh, here it is. So I've got the centre line, and I've got these two, and all I need to do now theoretically is get the tape off, line these two up, and that should be absolutely spot on, I hope. Right, so now to double check this, I've got a longer piece of tape. I'll put it just above the centre line where my mark is, and I'll run it into the edges of these tank pads that are on either side here, like that. So now I have an exact distance there. I'm going to mark these with a pen, take the tape off, and have a measure and see how that goes. So there's our tape, if you can see that with the lines on, and there's the centre part, and we're going to go measure that and see if that is accurate too. Okay, now just before I'm going to stick the pad down, I've cleaned this yet again in case my fingers, I've cleaned it beforehand with isopropyl alcohol. I always have a job saying that, which is a recommended thing, although to be honest, on this matte paint, because it's never had any polish on it of any sort, because you just don't polish matte surfaces, you can probably get away with just washing it with warm water and cleaning. But obviously if you've got isopropyl alcohol, use it. It makes the adhesion better. I've just given it another rub over just in case I've touched around this area again, got any grease up my fingers on. And the other interesting thing, which is a bit ironic, I was just waiting actually, because what I wanted to do was warm up the pad. So I've just, because this is rubber, I've left it on the radiator here for a few minutes. And while I've been doing that, the light in the room has subtly changed. And amazingly, I can now, if I look closer, I can actually see that there is, very faintly, a centre line in this tank. It's almost imperceptible, but just in the right light, if you just move your head, you can just see the actual centre line. And I'm glad to report, after measuring it, my marks are spot on in the middle of that centre line. But it's weird, you would never be able to rely on that, because it's such a subtle thing and you have to move your head around just to bring it to light. You'd have to measure it properly anyway, but it's a nice little confirmation that it's actually correct. Right then, this should be warm enough now. Now in the, so here's the moment of truth. So I've got my centre lines. What it says to do is to remove these three, the smaller pads. As you can see, there's a number of pads on here. I'll try and do it so you can see what I'm doing. But it's self-explanatory anyway. So we'll get all those off, which isn't easy, unless you've got really good fingernails. Let's have a look. Dear. I think I can do it. Come on. There we go. That's the top three, and just this one on the bottom. So remove those completely. You can get them off. But these we leave on until we actually put the pad down, but we just take the top off. This is what it says to do in the instructions. And just leave them folded over so you can grab them like that. And just press it down without touching the adhesive surface at all. I'll clean my hands again, by the way. I just think it's really important to keep your hands clean doing this. There we go. Pinch that. There we go. So, the moment of truth. Get yourself into position, I think is the way to do it. And I'm going to line it from the bottom first, because there's only one sticky pad on the bottom and there's a lot more on the top. This has got more chance of being adjusted very slightly, so I'm going to stick that down, at least begin to, just hold that there, and then bring this one in to line up perfectly there. Then it says hold the centre of the pad and push it down, and then peel off these two outer portions. Oh, this is tense. And then I'm going to push the solid down like that and apply some pressure. Now you may also notice what I set up earlier, I brought one of my tie down straps in, so I'm hoping I've hooked it around the frame at the bottom there, and I've hooked it around the frame here. And the plan is I'm going to leave this strapped over the centre of the pad just to help it for a few hours. But for a minute or two, I'm going to use my hands. So I might film this, or I might be back with you in a moment or two. So there we are, I'm pretty happy. Now I'm going to try and get this there, somewhere over the centre of the pad, just to keep it in shape. Then pull through the strap. Again, I don't want this to move anything, so just keep an eye on them. I'm sure it won't, but just keep an eye on everything. Just put some tension in there and then tie this Probably around, yeah, you can't see this, but I'm actually tying it around my pannier rail. I knew there was a reason I'd fitted that. Perfect. Yeah, so there we go. So oh yeah, it's looking good, he says. Of course, the moment of truth doesn't really come until you take all this tape away. It's hard to see whether it's central. I'm sure it is. It should be, it's got to be. But yeah, I've managed to strap that down. So wrap it around the frame. I've took the strap at that sort of angle to keep it square, or square as possible. Tied it around the frame, pulled it back, wrapped it off rather than using a ratchet. I didn't want to use that because one clip might have been one clip too much and it might have put too much pressure on. I wanted to be able to feel how much tension I was putting on. So there we go. I think that is it. So I'm going to leave this a couple of hours now to fully bond and I'll show you the result in a minute. Okay, well, about an hour's gone by. Made myself a coffee and I've been joined by an assistant, as you can see. No, I've not lost my mind. This is actually one of those bean bag things that you put in the microwave to warm up to put on mussels. It's got quite a bit of weight to it, so I'll take it off now. But I've had that sat. Feels a weight there. I've had that sat on the top. Just I'm probably going way over the top, but you can't be too careful, can you? So there we go. Hopefully we're going to take this off now, and I'm going to move the camera around so you can see, and hopefully you'll agree with me that it's in the right place. If it isn't, you probably won't see this bit of film, but we'll see how it goes. So let's get this tape off. As I said, this, I mean, I did say frog tape that I've used here, but I mean any masking tape would do it, of course, but I just happen to have this around. But having said that, if you're painting in the house, my God, I would recommend this stuff. It is brilliant. Leaves a beautiful finish. It's looking quite nice, isn't it? Take all those bits off. Get that out of the way. And then I will undo my strap. So you have to excuse me for a minute, because it's wrapped around a million and one things at the back here, including my rack. There we go. Oh, here we go. And there it is. Get that off, put that over there. Wow, it's looking good. Right, I'm going to put the seat back on and then I'll bring you back and show you from a better angle. Okay, so here we go. Bring it around the back of the bike there. And as you can see, well, hopefully you can see, that looks pretty damn good. Just a centimetre there between the top of the seat and the pad, and everything looking nice and central. Yeah, pleased with that. So there you go, that's the way I did it. There's loads of other ways to do it, I'm sure. Probably better ones than that, but that's the little method I used. I hope that's been some help to you if you're thinking of putting anything on your bike. Might give you a few ideas. That's all from me. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.